Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Arctic Bjorn, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing my experience on the Destiny 2 beta for PC, and I'm also going to be bringing you recommendations on whether or not I think you should actually purchase the game. Stay tuned for more information.
But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin.
Arctic Bjorn. So first of all, I would like to apologize for the lack of actual film. All my recordings got deleted while I was trying to learn DaVinci Resolve, and the whole thing was a mess, but I promise all the videos going forward will have actual video to them. So, how was the Destiny 2 beta? Well, first of all, I should tell you that I've never played Destiny for more than a few minutes back in the day, but I was playing the beta with a bunch of friends who've played religiously, and by the end of the beta period, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on the game. So overall, what did I think? Well, I thought the game was pretty fun. It's like if you took Borderlands and Halo and kind of forced them to have an illegitimate child. The classes were unique, if not somewhat useless to the point of the game, but the missions and the strikes were actually pretty fun to play through. Although I imagine with repetition they could get a little boring, but at first glance they were pretty fun. So if you're looking for advice on whether or not to actually buy the game, you first need to kind of separate yourself into one or two categories. If you're looking for the hardcore experience with min and maxing stats, managing, managing your stats, managing your gear, the whole, like the real MMORPG experience, then this is really not the game for you. The stats in this game are basically pointless. And it's all about your gear score, but I'll go more into that later. However, if you're looking for a fun, story-based MMO shooter to play with some friends, then this is definitely the game for you. So, now that we have gone and established what the game was like and my opinions on it, let's go back and take a look at the different classes and how the gear and all that interacts, at least as far as I know. So Destiny currently has 3 main classes, each with 3 subclasses, although only 2 of those subclasses were unlocked in the beta. The first class up is the Titan class, and this is the beefcake of the group. This is the heavy warrior, heavy weapon wielding, killing machine. These bullies are all about resiliency and bringing the pain. So during the beta, we got to see 2 of their subclass abilities, which essentially was Captain America and Hulk Smash. I don't know the actual proper names for them because I didn't really play much of the Titan. But in Captain America mode, it's exactly what it sounds like. Your Titan literally just spawns a shield and he goes around throwing it and wreaking havoc, and he can put a bubble down on the ground that protects all of his allies. During the beta, you couldn't shoot out of the bubble, but I've heard that there's a talent that lets you actually shoot out of it. The Hulk Smash ability is kind of exactly what it sounds like, too. You literally just run around, jumping around, smashing things into oblivion. So that one was pretty cool to watch. When more gear is unlocked, like later on in the actual game, I'm assuming that the Titans are going to prioritize resilience and health regen. Again, I'm going to go over the stats later, as well as heavy weapons. Next up is the Hunter, which is the class that I played a lot of. They are the mobility class. I call them the roly-poly shoot you full of holies. They kind of favor mobility and roguish behavior. So the 2 Hunter subclass abilities, their technical names were Arc Strider, and I don't remember what the solar one was, but I like to call them High Noon and Darth Maul. So the solar one, High Noon, your ultimate ability lets you pull out a gun and fire 6 shots, flaming shots. Some pretty devastating effects. I mean, they do a lot of damage. And Darth Maul, which is the Arc Strider one, is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to leap around like Darth Maul with an electric staff and kill things. And I'm just assuming when the more gear comes out that Hunters will be leaning definitely towards mobility and survivability. But overall, they were my favorite class to play in the beta. And finally, the last class we have to talk about is the Warlock. They are the quote-unquote magic users of the party. They're a mixture of really strong attacks, really crappy jump mechanics, and a really wimpy defense. So they're this game's version of a glass cannon, sort of, if you will. During the beta, we got to see their two subclasses. One was kind of like a void grenade ability. It was very weird. You could only use it once, whereas all the other ultimates in the game that I played, you had an extended period of time where you could use their ultimates, but this one just threw out one really powerful, basically just grenade. I can't imagine why you would use it, but then again, during the full game, you might be able to unlock better abilities with it. And the second one was their solar, which was like a praise the sun sword attack, like a Keanu Reeves' Last Samurai kind of deal, where they would essentially just pull out a flaming sword and they would attack you with it, but it would also hit you from a distance. But objectively speaking, it's kind of just a worse version of the Hunter's High Noon ability. So, I mean, it was cool to see, but, you know, you kind of had to, like, get close-ish with it, whereas a Hunter could just pull out his gun and shoot you in the head. From what I understand, we can expect to see Warlocks stacking health regen and possibly mobility during the real game, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll admit that Warlock was my least favorite class because their jump mechanics were really kind of weird. They would like jump and then hover, and it was just, I didn't like really anything about the Warlocks. There was one cool thing, is they had an ability to either increase your damage if you were standing in a circle with them, or they could heal you. So I guess this is the only class in the game that really has a good heal. But that was all really there was to the Warlock. So if you look on the screen now, I just wanted to quickly go over what the HUD looked like, the heads-up display. So on the bottom left-hand side, you can see all of those colored buttons. On the very left is your ultimate, and you can see in this person's clip that they're about halfway charged on their ultimate ability. That's that bar going across the top. So when that's unlocked, it turns yellow. The next one, going from left to right, is your grenade ability, and if the color is filled in, that means it is available for use. The next one after that is the Warlock's melee attack, or that's where the melee attack will go in anyone. So in Destiny, there's a cooldown on your like powerful melee. It's really weird. But the Hunter, one of their subclasses, the Arc Strider, if you kill someone with a melee, it resets your dodge roll, and then your dodge roll resets your melee attack. So there's some pretty cool synergy going on there. Anyways, the next one to the right is your class ability. So for as example, the Hunter, it would be the dodge roll. For the Titan, it would be the shield. For the Warlock, this would be the healing or damage pool. And then you've got your set of 3 weapons to the right of that. I know you can only see the top 2, but you can cycle through your 3 weapons, and I will go over that shortly when I talk about inventory. But that's basically the basic heads-up display. You've got your mini-map on the top left. Overall, I think it's pretty cool. It's not obtrusive at all. It gives you a pretty good view. Overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with the way that they designed the HUD in this game. So now let's talk about the bread and butter of Destiny, which is everybody's favorite part, which is the gear. So if you look at the display, as you can see, you've got 5 slots for gear, like gear, and then you have 3 slots for different types of weapons. And let's go over the weapons first while we have that up. In the first slot is your kinetic weapon. In the second slot is your energy weapons. And in the last slot is what I consider to be like a special weapons slot. And you have 3 of these at all times. So your kinetic weapons are exactly what it sounds like. It's, typically just bullet-based weapons. Your energy weapons are exactly what it sounds like. That's your laser base, your fire, your pulse, what have you. And then your special weapons include stuff like your sniper rifles, your rocket launchers, your shotguns, anything that you wouldn't typically find, and it's more rare to find that type of ammo. So if you look at the stats on this gun, it's got a bunch of things going on. So it has 200 attack because everything in the beta had the same attack except for your exotic weapons, which were unique to your class. So you have your attack at 200, so that will probably be the first thing you look at when you are deciding on gear. Then you've got stuff like impact, range, stability, handling, reload. I don't have to explain those to you guys. That's exactly what it sounds like. Your impact is how much damage it does. Your range is how far, blah, blah, blah. You get a good rounds per minute readout, so you get an idea of how fast it fires, and your magazine size. And then underneath that is essentially a description of what the weapon does and its effect. So on this one, it says arc conductor, taking arc damage increases weapon power. So that kind of tells you what the gun does. And then underneath that, it says, when arc conductor is active, shots fired have a chance to become chain lightning and return ammo. So that's the effects of the weapon on the bottom. And the armor is going to be kind of the same way, so I'm going to breeze over that a little bit when we get there. But this gives you a good idea of what the weapons are. So this particular weapon has 200 attack, just like everything else in the beta. So then, if we take a look at the gear, you'll see kind of a similar pattern. You'll see it gives you 200 defense, and then you'll see the 3 stats underneath it: mobility, resilience, and recovery, which I've talked about with the different classes on, what I think each class is to be aiming for. And then similar to the weapons, your armor has 2 things on it occasionally. There is the description of what's going to happen if you equip it, and there is the effect. So as an example, there's certain effects on armor, like your grenades recharge faster and stuff like that, and this is why at the beginning of the video I was kind of talking about how your gear stats don't really matter. The only thing that matters is that big number on the top right there where it says power. So from my understanding of this game, the more power you have, the faster you can kill things. And the faster and better you can kill things, the more challenging content you can do. So my understanding is this game is all about increasing that number so that you can do more challenging missions. And the way you do more challenging missions is by doing other missions repeatedly until you get your power up. And during the beta, I played around with some of these stats. Like I made like a full resilience hunter and a full recovery hunter. And other than in PvP, I didn't really notice a difference when I changed those stats. And like I said, it could be different when it goes live, but I maxed out each of those stats to see like what the difference was. And like, sure, I was moving a little bit slower when I was full resiliency, but I didn't really feel that resilient. So that's why at the beginning of this video I said if you're really into min-maxing your stats and like the true aspects of an RPG, this might not be for you, because as far as I can tell, those stats really don't matter. At the end of the day, the important thing is what your power level is. And that's one of the things like in World of Warcraft that I really don't like, because in World of Warcraft it's all about what your gear score is nowadays. It's not necessarily like until you become a really high-end raider, people don't really care if your stats are optimized. And I feel like that's kind of how this game is going to go as well, where it's really just about getting your power score up and not about like choosing the right stats for your class. But I guess we'll just have to find out when the real game comes out, because like I said, this is the kind of game that I just want to sit down and play through the missions with my friends, and I don't necessarily care about if the content is repetitive or not, because once we've cleared all the missions and stuff, then I can just stop playing the game. So there you guys have it. That's my full review and feelings on the Destiny 2 beta for the PC. I know that personally I will be buying this game so that I can go on some cool adventures with my friends. Even if the gameplay ends up being repetitive, I still feel that it will be worth the money just to play through the missions and the strikes and do the PvE and a little bit of PvP with my friends. But yeah, I have no delusions of grandeur in terms of gear-wise, but it should still be a fun adventure with my friends. So let me know in the comments what your favorite classes were if you played the Destiny 2 beta, and if you plan on buying the game or not, or if you're going to pass. And if you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all next time.